behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a road in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. That's right. God wants to do a new thing in your life. I hope that you are ready. I hope that you are excited. I hope that you are prepared. I hope that you embrace all that God has for you. Because what is for you, what God has for you, it is absolutely for you. Genesis 14:12, message Bible, one verse, one verse. Now, I want to encourage everyone who may not have been knowledgeable of the series that we've been engaging in for the past several weeks. Log on to our Facebook page, and you'll be able to kind of catch up. You can binge watch, the series. How about that? And then catch up to where we are right now. And then some of this will make a little bit more sense. I'm going to make as much sense as I can out of what we're going to teach today, because in all our we should get an understanding. So I'm going to do that. But really, you need to start from one, come on up to where we are today, and then be prepared for what you're going to hear on tomorrow and Wednesday. All right. But today, text says in Genesis 14:12 message, they captured Lot, Abram's nephew, who was living in Sodom at the time, taking everything he owned with them. And those who have been traveling with me throughout this series know exactly where we are with where Lot is at this moment in his life, right? They captured Lot, 12, Abram's nephew, who was living in Sodom at the time, taking everything he owned with them. Okay. I want to talk from a topic entitled Things You've Learned the Hard Way. Things you've learned the hard way. Okay. When I talk about the things that you've learned the hard way, and I've learned as well, the hard way, I'm talking about the things you were told not to do, and you did them anyway, right? I'm talking about the things you engaged in that runs contrary to your upbringing. I'm talking about the things you were warned about, but you did not heed the warning. You know, people who you were told to stay away from, but you chose to connect with them despite the advice. I'm talking about all the things that you could have avoided, but your choices caused you to experience them. You see, that's what I'm talking about. Because the people who have tried to tell you these things were trying to help you avoid what perhaps you know perhaps some of the consequences that they've experienced. See, when people begin to uh, uh, advise you to stay away from certain things and stay away from certain people, what they are doing, they are pretty much speaking from their own experiences and their own consequences, okay, that they've experienced, you see. And they don't want you to have to go through some of the things that they have gone through, okay? But see, after so many failed attempts to get you to listen, they utter these words, and I've heard them, I'm quite sure you've heard them. They are just going to have to learn, you guessed it, the hard way. The hard way. On Wednesday, we were dealing with parents, and their responsibility, parents' responsibilities to their kids, the lots, if you will, those who you know, you know, you may care for, those who are up under your care, regardless of the relationship. They're taking space up in your home, and you're caring for them. You're providing for them. I'm talking to my caretakers, and we realize that based on the text that we dealt with on Wednesday, that our responsibilities consist of three things. We need to exemplify. You have to know the examples that you've provided. You have to know the examples that you're responsible for that are being mimicked by those who look to you as ones that they pretty much take their cues from when it comes to the example that they embrace, right? Then you have to enrich. You have to enrich. You have to be able to speak to those that you care for. Let them know, their worth. Let them know, that they have a meaningful life. Let them know that they have potential. Let them know that they can do anything. Go after anything. They can achieve absolutely anything. You have to enrich their lives so they can see the quality and the equity of their self-worth, right? Then you have to learn how to emancipate. Emancipate means just to release. At some point, you have to release them to the extent that they'll be able to function based on self-sufficiency when it comes to what you have poured into them, and know that you've done all you could. You've done everything that you could possibly do to help them to make good decisions, especially when they become detached from your physical become detached from you from a physical perspective. Okay, let me put it that way. All right. So, we went through this situation with Lot separating from Abram, and we understood that, in the text that, you know, Lot's possessions and Abram's possessions were a lot. And at that point, there was some friction, there was some fighting, and Lot, Abram said, "Listen, this is the thing. We're family. We're not going to fight," because Lot had gotten to the point where he could not no longer be there with Abram because of the stuff, the possessions that he brought into Abram's space. The space belonged to Abram, right? So what happened? Lot began to recognize that he wanted his own stuff. He wanted to get space for his own stuff, his own views, his own values, and those values did not line up with the standards of Abram's space. And so you have to understand, Abram says, let's just separate because there's a lot of space out there outside this house. Now it's rough out there, but there's a lot of space outside this house. It's a big world out there, and I release you. I release you because it's time for me to emancipate. I release you to that space. I release you to, what you can discover outside of this home environment, right? So when that separation was just about the trajectory of their views, right, and values, because those views and values were taking them in different directions. So in 13:9, you see Abram saying, "If you go right, I'll go left. If you go left, I'll go right." Right? Okay. So Lot chooses what? Sodom and Gomorrah, right? Without any consideration of whether or not that choice honored or dishonored the God who brought him to where he is in life at that moment. See, he never considered that. All right. Okay. And whenever you are dismissive of the God who brought you to where you are in life, you will learn a lesson that you will not soon forget. Right? Because if you I want you to read, if you get, well, let me just read it. Genesis 13, and I'm going to read the 13th verse. He chose Sodom and Gomorrah, but the people of Sodom were evil, flagrant sinners against God. Okay? But Lot went anyway. He went anyway. And now we're in Genesis 14 and 11, and a war broke out between kings, and four kings, right? The four kings captured all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their food and equipment, and went away. Right? So we're going to fast forward to Genesis 14:11, right? And again, it's a war between a set of kings, two sets of kings. One consists of 5 kings, one consists of 4 kings. The 4 kings kind of prevails here. And then they in 11, you see the 4 kings captured all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, all their food and equipment, and they went on their way, right? Okay. Let me give you a little some impartation here. Let me give you some revelation on this. God will dry up. See, you understand that when you see the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, all right, Gomorrah, all their food and equipment were taken, right, and these kings just went on their way. You have to see Sodom and Gomorrah as a source, as a source, right? As a source. And when you see this, I want you to see that God will dry up the possessions of your sources. When He's trying to teach you a lesson about honoring Him in the choices you make in life. And when this occurs, you don't have nowhere to run. You don't have see, like, can't go to Sodom and Gomorrah, the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah, because they don't have anything. They don't have anything to offer, you see. And in this, God is trying to teach Lot a lesson, right? Okay. And when this happens, I want you to see in 12 how Lot was impacted because he left Abram, separated from Abram, left the house, okay, because he wanted his own space for his own stuff, his own views, did not pretty much honor God in making those choices. In 12, they captured Lot, Abram's nephew, who was living in Sodom at the time, taking everything he owned with them, right? So listen to me real quickly. When the possessions of God begin to be more of a priority than the principles of God, God will reset your priorities to teach you that He is a God that gives and He is a God that takes away, right? And so in 13, a fugitive came to guess who? Guess who? A fugitive came and reported to Abram, his uncle, the uncle that he left, the uncle that he separated from, the Hebrew. Abram was living at the oaks of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and Aner. They were allies of Abram, right? Hear this, hear this. One of the most challenging moments in life is when you get bad news about a family member. Abram is living it up. He's at the oak. He's at the oak. He's chilling. Life is good for Abram. His life is just fine. And then all of a sudden he gets word that Lot had gotten in some trouble. Now, listen to this. Abram could have said, hey, why are you telling me? He's grown. Let him figure it out. I told him not to go there anyway. He could have said that. But 14 says, when Abram heard that his nephew had been taken prisoner, he lined up his servants, all of them born in his household. There were 318 of them, and chased after the captors all the way to Dan. Now watch this. Watch this. Lot is in jail. He's in jail. And guess who has to bail him out? That's right. The one he separated from. The one he couldn't live with anymore. The one he had friction with. The one he fought with. Abram. Abram. Because at the end of the day, the very family that you may have friction with, you fight with, don't want to be around no more, that very, very family, that family at the end of the day is going to have to come and bail you out of the trouble that perhaps your choices have caused you, right? So Abram showed up to let Lot know, if you would have listened. See, if you would have listened, you would not have ended up in this position. Thus, you had to learn the hard way. This could have been an easy lesson for you, but you had to learn the hard way, you see. And at the end of the day, the trouble of your lots, maybe your children, maybe your nephew, whoever you are, taking care of, you have to end up getting them out of, despite your efforts of trying to keep them from making choices that will lead to troublesome outcomes. So when you read 16, the 16th verse said, they recovered all the plunder along with nephew Lot and his possessions, including the women and the people. And so Abram got Lot out of jail. Abram had to go bail him out. Abram had to go to court. Abram had to get the lawyers. Abram, it was Abram, the very one he separated from. It was Abram who had to come to the rescue and get Lot out of jail. Not only that, Abram restored his possessions. Not only that, but he reconnected him to relationships that would have been otherwise destroyed. You see. So what am I telling you? What am I telling you? You know, I've been there. I know what it is to hear sound advice from my parents, from those who cared for me, and just did it my way. Just literally dismissed all of the guidance, the advice, the warnings, and did it my way. And I know I'm talking to some people who can feel me. There were some lessons I learned the hard way. I did, and I can't do anything about that, but I can learn from them, and then share my life experiences with my children and others to let them know, don't go down that road. You know, if there's some people that you can see coming from 500 miles away, don't leave that one alone. Be nice, but don't connect. You see, and you have to know when you have done your due diligence to help people avoid certain consequences. At some point, you just got to let them learn the hard way. And all of the lessons that I learned the hard way, I thank God that He allowed me to recover from them. That's the good thing. Those who have gone through lessons and you've had to learn those things the hard way, you can recover. Oh, God will get you out. God will get you out of some stuff. Oh, He'll get you out of some stuff. He'll restore your stuff. He'll reconnect you to relationships that otherwise would have been just, demolished. Oh, no, He'll help you recover. And that's who I'm after this morning. Perhaps you have, been down some roads that were so unnecessary for you to just listen. But don't quit. Don't give up. Because God can restore you. Learn from these things. And then share these life experiences with others to help them avoid the consequences that you experience. You can do this. You can bounce back. You can recover. After you have repented and you have, asked for forgiveness, and it's time for you to move on. God got your back. He still loves you. Even the mistakes that I've made, even the times I missed it and failed, didn't get it all right, God has always been there for this brother. I'm telling you, getting me out of stuff that I know I should have never been in. He's just that kind of God. And He'll surround you with people that will cover you in that same vein. All right? So my time is up, but I want you to call 301-200-1615. Because I want you to know life is not over just because you had a hard lesson. No. God will get you out of what you're in. He will restore the things that you've lost, and He will reconnect you to relationships that otherwise would have been demolished. Because God is a God that knows how to restore. Just learn the lesson and keep on moving. Share your life experiences with everybody to help them avoid consequences. Don't you ever give up on your family. Don't ever give up on your family. I know they didn't listen, but you can't give up. Don't ever give up. All right? All right? So that's what I wanted to share with you this morning. Things we've learned the hard way. There were some hard lessons, but we still can recover from them. In Jesus' name. God bless you. I'll talk to you next week. All right. I hope everyone got something out of that. I know I did. Listen, there's a whole lot of things that I can talk to you about today. I'm trying to tell you that in 52 years, when I look back, I said, God, I shouldn't have never, ever allowed myself to be a part of some of the stuff that I was warned about. My father, my mother, I was talking to somebody the other day, and I started complaining about something that I went through as a pastor. And then the Holy Spirit brought it to me and said, don't complain about it because you were warned. And I shut up, right? Guys, I need to shut up right now. I need to shut up. Because I was warned, numerous times about not engaging with certain people and engaging in certain things. And I'm thinking that, maybe I could just make a difference. Now, sometimes you're not called to make a difference. Sometimes you're called to run. You to run and stay and listen, not make a difference, but keep your distance. I wish I had somebody here. No, sometimes you're not called to make a difference. Sometimes you're called to keep your distance, right? You see? And so, because everybody's not your assignment. I learned that the hard way, that everybody's not your assignment. Now there's going to be even the people who may be assigned to you. It's going to be some, you're going to have some Abram and some Lot type of, you know, drama go on. But when you know you are assigned to somebody, like Abram just knew that Lot was his assignment, though he separated from Lot because he had a lot of stuff going on. He just had a lot of stuff going on, and Lot just didn't have space for it. Like you don't have, like I know for me, I don't have time for a whole lot of stuff right now. At 50, I just don't. I don't have a lot of space for it. So I know my values, I know my views, and I'm just like committed to those things. That don't make me perfect, but I know, the trajectory of my views and my values may go in a different direction than someone else's views and values. So, just like Abram said, you go left, I'm going right. You go right, I'm going left because our values are sending us in, two different directions. That's fine. But if I know I'm assigned to you, get in trouble, I'm gonna be there. Yeah, I'm gonna be there. Lose something, I'm gonna try to help you. Yeah. You know, just like Abram is chilling at the oak, and he got bad news about his nephew. He didn't sit there and say, "Hey, look, let him stay on it. I ain't coming. I ain't got time for it." He let him figure it out. Abram got up. He got to steal my family. I got to do what I got to do. And he went at the people who went at his nephew and got everything back. Everything back. Got Lot out of jail. Got his possessions. He recovered his possessions, and then he restored those relationships with the women and the people. So, it's just certain people that we really need in our lives, and we may not agree on everything at some point, and that's fine. That's fine. But disagreement doesn't mean disconnection. You see, disagreement doesn't mean division. We may have a disagreement, okay, but we don't have to be divided over it. And we see that expressed through Abram's response to what he heard about Lot. Just got, man, your nephew just got locked up, huh? Yeah, he just got locked up. Yeah, and it's amazing how the fugitive came to Abram because they knew that Abram was relationally connected to Lot. You see, and so Abram is chilling, but Lot gets a call. He said, "Man, your people just got locked up. All this stuff is gone. Boom, boom, boom." Abram's like, let me go see about this boy. Let me go work this out, right? So I want to encourage all the parents. You know, I know some of you have gotten those phone calls. Oh, I know you've had. I mean, at work chilling, and all of a sudden, your son come. You need to come up to school. Your son, or your daughter, or your nephew, your niece. You get those phone calls, and you at work working hard. I mean, you're not even expecting to hear, some of the things, that you have been notified concerning, your kids or a family member, and it just out of the blue, boom. It's just like we was talking Wednesday. It's always something. And you got to drop, listen, you got to drop what you're doing. You have to take leave. You have to take resources. You have to do everything you have to do to get that loved one, out of that troublesome situation, right? Right. So you're using money for things that you didn't plan to use it for, but you got to make the sacrifice, right? You got to take leave for stuff, for those kind of things that you didn't plan to take leave for. That leave could have been used for something else, you see. And then just the time, just the stress and the worry about, God, what has this boy gotten into again? What has this girl gotten into again? What is my name? You see what I'm saying? It's very taxing. You see what I'm saying? And what really bothers you about it, and I'll close here, is that you had a conversation about it. You told it. I mean, how many times I got to tell you? You ain't going to keep doing this and not end up in these positions. I just can't keep having these conversations. I just talked to you about this 2 weeks. And it's amazing how you can have these conversations, right? And at the same time, 3 weeks later, you find a loved one, in a situation that could have been avoided if they would have just listened. And like I was saying, even when you have these conversations, at the end of the day, there are some things our loved ones are going to learn the hard way. And the problem is that though they go through the consequences, the price of those consequences fall on you. The price of it. The price of it. Normally, who pays for that? Those consequences are the caretakers. Are the caretakers. You scrambling trying to find everything you can, resources wise, to help your loved one get out of something that could have been avoided if they would have just listened. And the problem is you don't know what's next. What's going to be next? Well, I'm praying that God would just. I'm praying that whatever lesson that was learned relative to whatever last episode a family member have taken. I'm just praying that if they get into anything else, hopefully it's just not the same thing over and over and over again, because that's the worst thing you can deal with is like a repeat offender. When you're trying to help somebody find their way, stay out, and at the same time stay out of trouble. You see. So I just wanted to encourage you from that vein. I believe that God's going to give you peace, because some lessons that are learned at some point, people begin to mature. And I think about myself, Lord have mercy. I just think about myself. I'm telling you, I think about myself. I just think about all the things that I've done that I know I should have avoided. And so, I want my lots to listen to the Sarais, my lots to listen to the Abrams. It's nothing you can do. I mean, you trust me. We invented slick. I wish I had 5 people. We invented slick. Our generation, we invented slick. You can't be as slick as us. We had slick down pat. Sneaky? Oh, we know what? Man, we can do sneaky, I mean, with our eyes closed. Oh, yeah. Oh, you can't. You can't. So the thing is, sometimes, when we try to provide advice to our kids, we sound old now. Oh, Dad, oh, hell, yeah, come on, Dad. It sounds antiquated, it sounds old, but I'm telling you, this old stuff worked for you now. I wish I had 5. You see, don't ever discount, these great, all this great round in here. I earned every strand. I'm trying to tell you. All that is just trouble. Just that's just residue of just the trouble I've had to endure and deal with for the last 52 years. I'm trying to tell you, this stuff right here ain't just that gray. That gray trying to tell you something. So you need some gray around you now. You need some gray heads or gray chins around you to help you get through this life. You see, because the worst thing you can do is start taking advice from people that are your peers and not your parents. Because that's the problem with the generation now. They're taking advice from each other and not from nobody who had just a little bit more maturity than them, have lived just a little longer. So parents over peers when it comes to advice. Parents over peers, I'm trying to tell you, in Jesus' name. All right. So I went on and gave you the announcement regarding VBS. I wanted all my kids who are a part of MCC, and even if you're not, if you can get that information in before 12 noon, by 12, we got you. We got you. We just want to uplift and encourage our kids. It's been just, when I think about what we've been going through with this pandemic, the adults, we've been going through a whole lot. God knows. And I do want to say, please pray for the members of the Master's Child Church. And we never want to forget, what they are still trying to cope with and deal with. We don't want to be dismissive. I know life goes on, and then we can kind of forget that there are some who have really, 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 really lost a whole lot because of this pandemic, and we have a lot of members who've experienced, COVID, and some have gone on to be with the Lord. Some are still going through it, and the families that they have left behind, and the families that are trying to help the ones who are dealing with this get through this trying time. We have to remember them. We have to remember them. Keep praying, keep believing God, and even with our children. Now, our children, this is a traumatic time for them as well, because the conventional way of learning and just having that experience, a school year to school year to school year, that's going to change in a few weeks. and you can't imagine like what that's going to feel like because we've never done it. At least I know in my generation, I've never experienced anything like this, you know. So it's going to be awkward, unorthodox. So you have to kind of keep that in mind. And so we want our kids to be a part of what we're doing today. And so we can make a contribution to encourage them, to uplift them, to motivate them to the extent that they understand that you can be successful, you can get through this, you can do this, and we're not going to allow this unconventional way of learning to stunt their growth or hinder them from learning what it is that they need to learn, so they can stay on track and on pace with what they're trying to do educationally. So I want you to be, see if all kids. I want, you can get them to be a part of this. That's fine. It's virtual, of course. And then Sunday, I'll be encouraging our kids at the 11 o'clock service. I believe. I don't know exactly what time that's going to take place, but you'll know it. Um, Sunday, I'll be mentioning it, and I'm going to be a part of that. I'm just going to encourage our kids, encourage our um, parents. And that's another thing. I'm going to have something coming up real soon. I'm going to announce it real soon in terms of the encouragement that's going to come from an official, a very good friend of mine who's going to share some insight. I'm going to hold that until we get it all solidified and we'll put a flyer out. But good classmate of mine, good friend of mine, and I'll reveal those details at a later time. But she's going to provide some good insight. You can't miss this. Please, parents, you can't miss it. Your students or your children that are students, they can't miss it. No, really, nobody can miss this because it's information that you can share with others. That's going to make a contribution to what I believe is going to be needed to get through these times that we're in, and get through these times successfully, especially from an educational perspective. So look out for that announcement. As soon as I get that solidified, it's really solidified, but it's just a few details I want to make sure that we get. Then we'll put a flyer out. Then I'll go ahead and give you some additional insight as to what's going to take place from that perspective. All right. Thank you for sharing your morning with me. Hopefully you got something out of it tomorrow. Please don't miss tomorrow. Don't miss tomorrow. At 11 a.m. we plan to have a wonderful time in Jesus' name. All right. God bless you. May the Lord keep you, and I will speak with you soon, Lord willing, tomorrow at 11 a.m. God bless.